In this video, I'm going to show you what to look for in a constructive flat base. Hello everyone, my name is Michael Lamott. I'm the founder of ChartYourTrade.com, and our goal is to inspire millions of hardworking people just like you to take advantage of the stock market. And so in this video, I want to show you what we look for in a good-looking constructive flat base. So very similar to the last video that we did about base patterns with the cup with handle, we're looking for the same kinds of basic things. We want to start with the weekly chart and then we'll move to the daily chart. We want to look at stocks that are already in an uptrend and roughly 20% or so from wherever they start to be moving higher. That's the norm. Give or take, could be more, could be a lot more, could be a little bit less, but around 20%. We want the relative strength line to ideally be making new 52-week highs. Doesn't necessarily have to be, but the more that this stock is already outperforming the market, the better. We want to look at, when we're looking at the weekly chart, we want to be looking at each individual weekly bar, so that way we could read the story that the stock is telling us. The chart tells us a story, and that's the story that we really need to read. We don't need to read headlines, and we don't need to listen to the news or anything. All that stuff manifests itself right here on the chart, and therefore that's the story that we want to read. And so looking at the weekly bars helps us do that. We want to also look at the weekly bars to find the support zone for the base. So as the stock is basing, we'll look at where the support zone is and kind of draw a line to the left of the chart to see what's going on. And finally, we're going to move to the daily chart to find the advanced pivots. So what we have here is a weekly chart of Apple, and Apple has already made a move of about 35% or so. Let me grab my ruler and show you. So if we're saying that the breakout kind of started around here as it moved back above the 50-day, then from there to the peak of the pattern, somewhere between 35, almost 40% of a run. So we have that box checked off. Fantastic. Next, we want to see how long of a base this is. How long is it chopping around sideways? So it starts doing that the week of May 8th, and it starts to break out above that resistance level over here towards the end of July. So you have kind of like a close to a 3-month consolidation. Typically for a flat base, you're looking for a bare minimum of 5 weeks. Now, the reason why 5 weeks is because historically, the stocks that have gone on to make these incredible runs have had basing periods for at least that amount of time when they're constructing this base pattern to ultimately go up higher. It can be a little bit shorter, depending on what time frame you're interested in. There's a lot of art to this, and at least from my experience, what the main thing that we're looking for in these bases are like the essences of the patterns, and really trying to define what's going to be a clear place to enter and to exit. And the more time that a stock is consolidating in a zone, typically the better it is, because when it finally does break out of that zone, you have a very solid floor established. And if it does roll over and starts to break down, then you know that the trend is indeed rolling over, and there's a lot fewer questions around that. But anyway, so looking at this chart here, you have the floor established right around the 142 level, and if you look more towards the left of the chart, you're kind of looking at this former high right over here. Yeah, it starts to break around, it starts to test that level, and then kind of establishing itself right around that 142 level. Looking at the individual bars, when we look at the individual bars the base. What we're trying to figure out is this stock under accumulation, meaning that there's more buyers coming in, or is it under distribution, meaning that the major players are kind of dumping their shares, and when we ultimately see either a breakout or a breakdown, that's what's going to tell us who won the day. Was it the bulls or the bears? So in this case, we're starting out and we see that right here, we're getting a week of accumulation, right? So it's starting out, and this week here, the closed up for the week and the volume is greater than the week immediately prior to it. So that's a sign that the stock is being bought. Then the next week, it closes in towards the middle of the range. Volume is a little bit lower. Then volume is still drying up all the way over here. Then this is our first down week, right? And so because volume is higher than the week immediately before it, you could say that this is a distribution week. There's obviously more sellers coming in than buyers, but when you look at the price action, you could see that it rallied back above this red line here. That's a 10-week line, and actually ended up closing above it for the week. So that's kind of telling us that, yeah, it was ultimately a selling week, but there were buyers stepping in to defend that 10-week line. It starts to fall below it even more on this week over here, so clear distribution. And then you start to get this choppiness around, volumes drying up, and that 142 level is being tested really for about a month, and it doesn't fall below it. So you're getting that solid level of support right around there, and that's when you would start to look to the left on the chart and see, does it really correlate to anything? You could kind of make the argument that it does right around this zone. And it's important to also think of support levels and resistance levels as zones rather than an exact dollar amount. Yes, we do need to operate with an exact dollar amount, but we also need to understand that support is more of a zone than an exact amount, and that's why sometimes you'll end up seeing a certain level where we place our stop breaking, and then the stock reverses higher. It's still getting support within that zone. So it's the buyers that are looking around that level, waiting to buy, and then when that level is finally hit, they go in and they buy. Same thing with resistance. They'll see that level, like sort of around that level, and they'll go in and they'll sell. And that's how all this works. So to continue analyzing this base here, you're getting a little bit more volume coming in on this day, so that counts as an that week, so that counts as an accumulation week. And yeah, then we're finally rallying back above the 10-week line, and both of those weeks the volume is getting progressively lower, so it doesn't count as accumulation or distribution. We're only looking for the weeks that are on higher volume than the week immediately before it. Finally, starts to break out and volume is elevated. So that's an accumulation week. We can see that this is being bought, right? So when you see something like this, like it starts to get frustrating. And I could see how you could get frustrated if you're, depending on what time frame you're trading, if you're somebody that's buying the exact pivot point or the buy point, the classic buy point of the pattern being the high of the pattern, and you enter right up here, right at around 156.65 or 10 cents above that, so 156.75, and yeah, you end up getting this kind of whipsaw, and you end up moving a little bit higher. If you're somebody that, let's say you bought there and you were able to sit through that pullback and you saw your stock rally for about 15%, you know, unless if you have like clear signals and rules and everything, depending on your time frame, you might have ended up sitting through this, and it was probably pretty tough. I don't know if you would have been able to sit through that a lot. Like for me, I'm more of a shorter term swing trader, and by now you probably know that for my intermediate term account, I'm following along with what Adam Sarhan does for the Advanced Stocks model portfolio, trade for trade for trade, and that's something that is teaching me quite a bit on how to handle this stuff, but I'm still learning, right? So a move like this for me, that would be very difficult to sit through, but it did not end up stopping you out below here or below here. And yeah, well, what was that low? 149.16. And this was, the low of that was 150.24. So it hasn't been making lower lows just yet. And so, yeah, you could have sat through that, but that's pretty rough action to sit through, especially when you're dipping below that black line there, that 40-week line. But anyway, starting to get a little bit off topic. Let's go take a look now at this flat base on the daily chart. Okay, so here's what we're looking at on the daily chart. And you can see that we have the flat base drawn over here, and that's where the former resistance level was. And you could see that there would have been an advanced pivot in here, right? There's actually a couple of advanced pivots in this base. So over here, you're getting the flat base, you get that consolidation, and you're chopping around over here for a while. And this former high is pretty closely related to that 50-day moving average. So if you wanted to take a position as you were breaking either above that that former resistance level there, or above the 50-day moving average, that would both be pretty good advanced entry points, because you're breaking above a shorter term level of resistance within the base, and you're able to buy a lot closer to this level of support here. Now, remember, we want to try to buy as close to major support as we can. That right there, that's what's going to give us the best possible reward to risk ratio, and it's going to allow us to get in at the truer support level, the truer longer term support level, and it's going to put us in a position where we're not trying to cheat, right? Like if you saw that other video where I showed you what we did with AAOI and with Facebook, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, like so down here, that's a real solid support level. It was tested between June 12th and really all the way through July 10th. So you have a solid month right around that level. Battery's running low. So you have that level tested right around 142, and you also have this line here. That's the 100-day moving average. So taking a spot right there, you have a pretty good shot of that not being violated again. So if you wanted to get in on a shorter term time frame, or even the intermediate term time frame, getting in right around here, that would have been golden. If you missed out on that, then you could have also eventually started to draw this downtrend line as you have it over here, you start to hit resistance right around here, okay. Then you have really what I would consider more like two significant points. So like back here and then over here, like you are butting up against it for all these days. I wouldn't count those days as much, as at least not as primary points. So the two primary points are there and there, and you start to break out about it over here. Then you get this shakeout over here, right? So if you do get in on this advanced entry point, you've got to think to yourself, where would you exit this trade? And you would probably set up a stop loss right around what that pivot was, that advanced pivot. So right at around 148.28, and you may have gotten shaken out there. That low is 147.30. But you need to remember too that it's more of a zone versus an exact level. So maybe if you're really tuned in, if you're entering over there, you're not just using that, you're using this right over here, where you're getting that little bit of a support zone or a former resistance area, and then you are not shaken out. So really need to be in tune with the art of not just what's going on the weekly chart, but also what's going on the daily chart, especially if you are somebody that's striking out on your own and trying to do this. Not impossible, but it takes a bit of work, and you need to train your eye to be able to see the nuances of patterns like this, and where there's different layers of resistance and support, and where all these different moving averages are going to fall. So just going to remove some of these lines because we see a lot of clutter on this chart, right? So get rid of that one, get rid of this one over here, and you have that, and then you start to rally over here. Now, after you break out of that, then you're getting more of a support zone over here, and that again is this former resistance level where you hit resistance and now it's acting as support, and then you start to rally a bit. If you enter down here, right, then it's a lot easier to sit with this position if you are trading on the intermediate term or the longer term when something like this happens. If you enter up here, then you're probably going to end up being shaken out on this kind of a move. And let's see, let's measure that, right? So let's assume that you enter up here. You're now sitting with a 5.5% loss on that. So maybe you are able to sit through it, but for me personally, I know that I would have trouble sitting with this trade if that had happened to me. But again, that's because for me personally, my trading personality is more of that of a shorter term swing trader, where I'm holding for periods of a couple of weeks to a couple of months, and I'm selling into strength, and on weakness, I'm not really sitting through most of this. But that's, again, where having another service or somebody to help you out with some of these other moves where you could take advantage of multiple strategies and be able to participate in larger moves. So that's how we go about analyzing a base pattern, how we go about analyzing a flat base in particular, and some of the things that you need to know in order to take advantage of these patterns and to be able to take advantage of them on multiple time frames. Thank you all so much for watching. I truly, truly appreciate it. I know that we covered a lot in that video, so if you have any questions at all on anything, please leave a comment in the comment section below and I will personally help you through it. Also, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button. That's really going to help us out a lot. And also make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that way you get every single update. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Take care and have a great day.